You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Saturday, August 23rd, and today was the 49ers preseason finale against the Los Angeles Chargers. The game is actually still going on. It's the longest game I think there ever was at this point. Not literally, but for a preseason game, my God, this has just been going on forever. There's about little under 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter now, but the 49ers lead 30-16. So I think we could safely say the 49ers are going to be winning their preseason finale. But it's not about wins or losses in the preseason. It's more so about who makes the case for their spot on this 53-man roster. Roster cuts are coming shortly. Tuesday actually is the day where all roster cuts have to be, all rosters need to be down to 53. And so the 49ers will have plenty of cuts to make, as will other teams around the NFL. And so this game is important for a lot of guys who are on the roster bubble. And also, I think this helps even guys who maybe were projected to make the roster, but were in some competition battles with some other guys as far as where they fall on the depth chart. So we're going to talk about that. As far as who played in this game, that's important, right? So most of the starters for week one did not play. The only potential week one starters that did play: Jordan Elliott, Renardo Green, Luke Gifford, Jair Brown, and Marquez Siegel. Also throw in Connor Colby in there, because if Dominic Pooney doesn't play, I think Connor Colby is first in line to start week one. So I'm going to just mention him. He did start. As far as the defense goes today, actually, before I even get into anything else, I believe the last time I made a show, I hadn't even talked about this yet. Sky Moore, the 49ers had a couple of trades this week. Wide receiver Sky Moore, running back Brian Robinson. Let's talk about Sky Moore first, because obviously this wide receiver group very depleted. And so I think the 49ers looking for him as a return man, and then also seeing what he could do as a depth piece. So he did take the first punt actually in this game, and he was out there for the opening drive. I think that's a pretty strong indication that Junior Bergen will be part of the 49ers cuts, right? And as the game went on, that kind of just got solidified even more. Bergen got his first return late in the second quarter. Early in the fourth, he had that muffed punt. So, yeah, he's definitely going to be a cut, unfortunately, on Tuesday. I still say he's a practice squad candidate for the 49ers, but for Bergen overall, it's going to be a tough sell, I think, in his NFL career, because really the only thing that really sets him apart is the return ability, right? And so usually other guys who maybe can offer a little bit more as far as if they can find any kind of role on offense and, prove to be reliable there, they'll probably get an opportunity over Bergen. So I feel like this is going to be a theme for Bergen going forward, that he'll probably always maybe be a practice squad candidate for this team and just an option for when the main return man gets hurt or something like that. So for now, that job is Sky Moore. And as far as Sky Moore, we saw a couple things from him today. He did have a drop on the 49ers' second offensive possession, and drops have been an issue with him with the Chiefs, so it wasn't great to see that right off the bat from him. He did finally get a catch later in the game from Carter Bradley, and then in the third quarter, he did have a jet sweep. So, it was nice to at least see him get some involvement a little bit later in the game. But yeah, Sky Moore definitely going to make this 53-man roster. As for Brian Robinson, the running back who the 49ers traded for this week, I mean, I think we know he's going to make the 53. The question is, where does he fall on the depth chart? And, we're not going to have a preseason game to help define it. Probably won't get that answer until week one, maybe even week two. But as far as, that trade being official, one of the beat writers, I forgot which one, apologies, but one of the beat writers did mention that his physical did go through, and he passed it, which essentially makes the trade official unofficially, because the teams haven't announced it yet officially. But as far as the physical going through, it passed, so that's a good sign. He's been traded to the 49ers. He did not suit up for today's game, but I think we're looking forward to seeing where he falls and what role he could have in this offense. And I'm going to kind of segue really quickly into Isaac Rendo, because he played in this game and he played a decent amount. And at what point I thought he was going to leave the game because it looked like he re-aggravated his shoulder. But, he did end up returning and continue to play. But his stats were just not good. And maybe it was a mix of the run blocking at that point. But I also think maybe that the shoulder obviously isn't 100%. And I think that was also maybe impacting how hard he was hitting the hole and how aggressive he was being. He ended with 8 carries for 13 yards, a measly 1.6 yard per carry average, just as inefficient as you can get. So for Isaac Rendo, I saw a lot of people say Isaac Rendo's not making this team. I still think he's making this team. It is only his second year. The 49ers are, and it looks like the Chargers just scored a touchdown here. So looks like the score is going to be 30-22, or 23 after the field goal. I think Isaac Rendo is making this team because it's only his second year. Right now, I know it doesn't look great for him, but I do think a lot of that has to do with the shoulder injury and him trying to play through it. Obviously, it's not working. I would not be surprised if the 49ers maybe end up putting them on IR with a return designation. Not sure. Maybe Jordan James, who has been out for, I don't know, like a month now or close to a month, it feels like. Maybe Jordan James ends up, getting the IR treatment. And then that way, maybe they find a way to keep Jeff Wilson Jr. On the 53-man. Because Jeff Wilson Jr. has looked pretty good, at least so far, in the 2 preseason games that he has played. He had 11 carries, 41 yards, a touchdown, 3.7 yards per carry average. We're still not great, but I think just what I've seen from him has been pretty positive. So I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to get Jeff Wilson Jr. on the roster. However, if they decide to roll with McCaffrey, Garendo, Brian Robinson, and Jordan James, I think they'd be comfortable also with cutting Jeff Wilson Jr. because he was a free agent before they signed him. It's not like people are clamoring for Jeff Wilson Jr. And he's someone who they could probably end up keeping on the practice squad. Isaac Rendo, if you cut him for the 53-man, you're not seeing him again, right? So I think they'll have a better chance of cutting Jeff Wilson Jr. at the cut down day and having him back for the practice squad. And then you feel really good about your running back situation. Should 1 or 2 guys get hurt, you have a capable running back in Jeff Wilson Jr. who can come in and, get the job done if he needs to. So that's what I think is likely if they don't end up putting one of Garendo or Jordan James on IR because of their injuries. But I think, all in all, let's talk about just some of the other guys who helped their stock in today's game. And some of these, again, are going to be bubble players, but other guys kind of have their role or not starting position, but have a spot on the roster, but maybe just helped themselves in the pecking order of the depth chart and where they might fall. I thought this was notable, right? Evan Anderson getting some time early in this game. He was in on the second defensive drive. I feel like that's good news for him, possibly, but I did see him later in the game as well as Sebastian Valdez. I feel like 49ers have a tough decision to make with the defensive tackle group. I mean, they're kind of stacked at that position right now. You have Jordan Elliott, who did play in this game, he missed much of training camp, which is probably why he ended up playing. You have Kevin Givens, right? Those are kind of like the mainstay guys. Kevin Givens not going to count against the 53-man when they do the 53 cut down. Evan Anderson, I think, he's shown that, he should have a spot on this roster, but there's a guy like Sebastian Valdez, I think, is going to make that decision interesting for the 49ers, right? They also have Kalia Davis. And so unless they end up trading a defensive tackle, I think they might roll the dice and end up cutting Sebastian Valdez and hope that he makes it to the practice squad. I don't know. I think they're going to have to do some roster gymnastics to try to make it all work out and try to get Sebastian Valdez, who I thought had a pretty good game today, on this roster. So I think Evan Anderson, Sebastian Valdez both helped themselves out in today's game. I also felt like Trevis Gibson, who's, he's further on the depth chart as far as the defensive end goes. He had a couple of nice plays early in the game. He hit Trey Lance's arm as he threw, forced an incompletion. And then Robert Beal, I thought, had a number of positive plays in this game. And so I'd feel comfortable if Robert Beal Jr. ended up making the 53 just based on what I saw today. There were times where I wasn't really sure. Like, I'd seen some good things from him, but just, like, not enough. I saw a number of good things. So I do feel better. The game just ended. So final score, 30-23, 49ers win that one. But, yeah, as far as Robert Beal, I think he could very well make this roster. We don't know what's going on with the Yetur Gross-Matos. I have to think he probably ends up on IR for the season, which will make Robert Beal, I think, a natural option to make the 53-man. But you also have Samo, who's going to make this roster as well. And I like Jonathan Garvin as well. So there's a number of guys who I think signed late with the team. Like, this was in training camp that they got signed. And, I've made some plays here in the preseason and in camp as well. Jonathan Garvin is who I saw mostly in camp, make some plays here and there. And so he stood out to me. Gibson looked good in some of the preseason games, so he helped himself out. I don't know if it's enough for him to make the roster, but who knows? Maybe he could stick around as a practice squad player. Wouldn't mind that. Let's talk about some of the linebackers. Okay, so we got to talk about Nick Martin. Nick Martin, like, the growth from the first preseason game to the second was already, like, pretty significant, noticeable enough where you're like, okay, like he applied some of the things that didn't work out in the first. Like, you could just tell there were differences from game 1 to game 2, positive ones. And even from game 2 to game 3, I saw an even bigger leap, right? Of just like him looking very keyed in. I did see him like over pursue on a play or two. And I don't think that's going to completely go away for him, at least not for now, maybe for a while. But I saw way better pursuits where he wasn't over pursuing too much and he was playing aggressive. You see the speed on him. We already knew he had the speed. The problem was he wasn't always, he was too fast for his own good. Now he was a little more calculated with it and, also just getting after it. Forced fumble in the third quarter. That was with his helmet, but I think that just shows, you're hitting the guy to get him down, but you're also hitting at the right spot, which is the ball. That one was recovered by Evan Anderson. And he had a couple of nice plays in special teams as well, which I think helps even more. So again, Nick Martin was going to make this team, obviously, but seeing the growth, I think, is huge because I think it's going to maybe force the team to, as the season goes on, possibly make some tough decisions about where he falls on the depth chart. You got Fred, you got D. Winters as your top two. Currently, you have Luke Gifford coming in as that third linebacker, and Gifford has some, special teams prowess as well. And then you got Tatum Bethune, I don't know, like based on what I saw from Nick Martin today, and if he's making like if the improvements are that substantial from week in and week out, if he continues that trajectory into the season, I mean, yeah, he can definitely challenge Bethune, maybe even Luke Gifford, to get on this depth chart a little higher up on this depth chart, right? So I feel good about where Nick Martin is at. Feel good about the growth that he showed already. Super, super encouraging to see that from him. Definitely someone I wanted to talk about today. Jalen Graham, I thought, had a pretty solid game today as well. A couple of nice plays. He had a run play that he snuffed out. Then a few drives later, he was all over the screen, nearly picked it off, actually. So I think those are the kind of plays that you want to see from, a guy like Jalen Graham. And I don't know if Jalen Graham's going to make the roster. I don't think he will, but, I think he has a spot as a special teams guy. And, that's fine. I think he's showing he can be a deserving guy to be on special teams. And if he ever gets the call up in season, then we don't have to feel too terrible about that. Darrell Luter, and I want to talk about him because he's an interesting case to me. I've been saying for a while now that I think Darrell Luter makes this team. The reason for that is one, just kind of where he falls in the depth chart. The difference, I think, between, the top end to the bottom end, and bottom end, I'm talking about Jacob Robinson and Fabian Moreau. Fabian Moreau, we haven't even seen. So, because he's been dealing with an injury. So the difference there, I think, is huge. So just by virtue of that and depth, for depth reasons, Darrell Luter is your third or fourth outside corner that you have available to you, right? So I think, and I kind of wonder if maybe that's why they gave a look at Chase Lucas on the outside today. Maybe because I think Upton Stout and Chase Lucas obviously making this team. Chase Lucas definitely making this team. But I wonder if maybe that decision becomes easier to keep Chase Lucas and cut Darrell Luter if Chase Lucas shows and proves that he could play both. Because then you could essentially save yourself a roster spot. Interesting thought. I don't know if that's what they were doing or if that's what they were planning, but maybe maybe. Darrell Luter, I still think he makes the roster, and I still think I've seen some good from him. There was early in the game, he had great coverage. Basically ran the route for the receiver, broke it up along the left sideline, nearly picked. And then another play that was nice on run support to force I think it was a tackle for loss, or at the very least, it was a no-gainer that he was in on. But even with that, the series before halftime was rough for Luter in particular. And he was there. It's not like he was burnt toast or anything, but that the Chargers quarterback right before halftime was cooking. He was on fire, but still not a great look for Luter that a lot of those completions came against him, and so not great. Still, it's not like Luter's starting. God forbid he starts, right? That means someone's hurt. I think I've seen enough that he can maybe go in for spot duty, in a desperation situation. Maybe you have him out there. I still think Dallas Flowers is ahead of him on the depth chart, but I don't know. Maybe that's kind of what these preseason games have helped the 49ers gauge, just where they fall on the depth chart. Who's the third corner, right? Is it Luter? Is it Dallas Flowers? But regardless of that, I think they both make the team. I still think Darrell Luter makes the team. I've seen enough good from Darrell Luter to say that I don't think he deserves to be cut. I'll just leave it at that. So Darrell Luter, I expect will be on the roster. Braden Willis is another interesting one. I see some good and I see some bad from Braden Willis. He did recover a muff punt. There were also a couple of bad effort plays on special teams. He also had a couple catches in this game. So he's an interesting one. I don't quite know how the 49ers feel about the TE3 situation, because clearly it's between Braden Willis and Jake Tunges. And oftentimes, like you saw both of them in the game at the same time on several plays. So I don't know who has the edge. I think Braden Willis, based on what I've seen in training camp, and again, the couple catches he had in this game, I'd put Braden Willis just slightly ahead, just based on the pass catching ability that he's shown in camp, and then even slightly in these preseason games. But it's close. I think it's close. There's a lot of growth still need to see from Braden Willis, and it's his third or fourth year with the team. So, yeah. Again, just glad he's not. I guess we don't have to worry about Braden Willis too much, because he's, in my mind, he's not going to be getting a lot of snaps once the regular season comes around. So, but if they do have to depend on him, that could be a problem, which is why I think they brought in Luke Farrell this offseason, right? You upgrade your TE2 position. You don't feel like you have to depend on some other guys that are like inconsistent, like Braden Willis. All right. Did Tanner Mordecai help himself out in this game? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like, Tanner Mordecai, I think, definitely looked better in this game than Carter Bradley did. It's a shame, because by the end of it, both of them were gimpy. First, it was Carter Bradley, who was like limping and had to leave. You didn't see him for a while, and then Mordecai goes in, and then Mordecai has that dime touchdown at Demarcus Robinson, and after that drive, you see Carter Bradley going back in, and I'm like, Carter Bradley saw that throw and was like, hold up, let me go back in, because he's showing me up right now. I don't know if that was I'm joking. I don't know if that was a situation. I don't know if the 49ers maybe planned to go back and forth, because they did kind of rotate him after that, until, of course, Tanner Mordecai ended up getting hurt, and then Carter Bradley ended the game. It was a mess. It's a mess. To be quite honest with you, I still feel like neither of them should make the 53-man. I don't want to see either of them. Like, this game offensively started off atrociously. Like, it was awful. And again, I don't know if it was the run blocking. Like, Isaac Guerrero couldn't get anything going. The offense couldn't get anything going. There were multiple 3-and-outs. So, Mordecai, Bradley should not make this 53-man. Should one of them or both of them make the practice squad? Sure. Why not? I mean, I saw some good things from Carter Bradley till like the fourth quarter. I saw some good things from him then. I did see some nice throws from him in training camp as well, which is why I was like always telling people to, hey, like, I kind of see the vision. He has something, but like in game situations, he is kind of a different guy. But Tanner Mordecai today, I thought looked good. Showed some athleticism on his own read run as well. Showed he has wheels. Let's look at the final passing stats. So Tanner Mordecai, 10 of 13, 103 yards, 1 touchdown, no sacks taken. Carter Bradley, 8 of 14, so almost very close in how many attempts they had, 13 and 14. Carter Bradley had 14 attempts, 8 of 14, 71 yards, 1 touchdown. Took 2 sacks. So, I don't know. In the end, it doesn't really matter to me, because neither of them are making the 53. So, okay. I think those are the ones that helped themselves the most in this game. Let me talk about the guys who didn't help themselves in my eyes. So, we got to talk about Jake Moody. He misses an extra point. An extra point, people. An extra point. I'm done. I've been done. I think a lot of people have been done. You don't start booing your team's kicker unless you are so done with him. And I don't care that they ended up cheering for him after. You know why we're cheering? We're not cheering for Jake Moody. We're cheering because a kick actually went through the uprights, because that's how coveted it is now. We're at a point where we're cheering field goals and extra points because they're not a given. That's a problem. That is a problem, major problem. Your kicker should not be a topic of conversation like Jake Moody has been for this team. It shouldn't be. If your kicker is creating that much discussion and discourse, it's probably not for a good reason, and it's not. Jake Moody, I think I'm done with the experiment. It's not going to work. We thought the game winner, 59 yards, awesome, right? We thought that was going to be the one that changed it. We also thought the game winner against the Bucks last season was going to be the one that changed it. It didn't really change anything, did it? We're still in the same place. He's volatile. He'll make kicks, and he'll make some really good ones where you're like, he's back, he's got it. Then he'll miss again. And he won't even just miss like any field goal. He'll miss like a extra point. He'll miss like a 20, 30 something yarder. He has to go. I'm sorry. He has to go. I hope he gets another opportunity somewhere else. But I don't need that negative energy on my team. Simply do not. And it's not just that. I think the 49ers appreciate his ability to do kickoffs. But today, yeah, he had one of the kicks out of bounds after he made – okay, so here's how Jake Moody's night went. I'm just from the one that he missed, the extra point. Then he made a field goal after that. Then after that, he kicks a kickoff out of bounds to give the Chargers the ball at the 40. Yes, I did see the reaction from Brant Boyer and from Kyle Shanahan after that. It did not look good. I saw it live when they showed like Brant Boyer walking by Jake Moody. They crossed paths like right next to each other. Didn't even look at him. I don't think he wanted to. If I'm Brant Boyer and I've seen how much issues Jake Moody has caused, and it essentially helped fire the last John Schneider, the last special teams coordinator, who also wasn't good at other things either, but I digress. If I'm Brant Boyer, I'm not putting my job on the line for Jake Moody. It wouldn't take him long to figure out that's just not smart for him to do. So, and again, seeing Kyle Shanahan's face, maybe he's coming to that realization too. We're going to continue until Jake Moody is off this roster. Make no mistake, we're going to continue to hear Kyle Shanahan uplift Jake Moody and try to breed confidence in him. You have to, as long as he's on the roster, like you have to kind of build him up a little bit. You're not going to start saying bad things about him on the podium. But here's what I think. I don't think Jake Moody's making it to the end of the season. Personally, I don't think he makes the 53. I think he might make the original 53. I think the 49ers are going to wait until they can find a replacement, and they're going to best believe they're going to be looking and scouring what other kickers get cut at the cut down to 53 on Tuesday. And I would not be surprised if on Wednesday they sign another kicker, cut Jake Moody. That's how I see it playing out, because I think they're done. Personally. But we'll see. We shall see. So that's my spiel on Jake Moody. Yeah. He did not help himself out today. He did not. Okay, so Jair Brown, I kind of want to say Jair Brown. The thing I want to say about Jair Brown, I know everyone saw the touchdown play where Jair Brown was closest to, I think that was the one that was Aronde Gadsden, right? The Aronde Gadsden touchdown. And he, Jair Brown comes across the screen and he just kind of just barely misses it. First, I want to say this. The guy who was on coverage for that play, responsibility, was Marquez Siegel. I actually thought this was very interesting because for the last 2 preseason games, couple of you in the comments, and I've agreed, we haven't really seen Marquez Siegel be challenged in coverage. Like, we hadn't gotten the opportunity to see him in coverage enough to really form an opinion there. We've seen a lot of good from Siegel. Don't get me wrong. We have. Good enough that I'd consider making him one of the starters. But in coverage today, I think Siegel was definitely tested a couple of times. There was one against Rager that he was in coverage on. That was a completion. Allowed a completion on the first drive, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't allow a touchdown in his coverage. That was the one with Gadsden. So that was Siegel's responsibility. Jair Brown, whole nother story, wasn't his full responsibility, but at the same time, this is a theme with Jair Brown. He is there. He's there. We see him there. Just like the one last week against Brock Bowers. Like, he's there. It just doesn't seem to matter that he's there. Like, give me something. Give me something. So that's the thing with Jair Brown. I think he's fine, I think he's fine to make the 53 just for purposes of depth, because you don't have a lot of depth in that safety room. Especially with Mustafa and Richie Grant still out with injury. So you kind of have to keep Jair Brown for now. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be starting. Okay. 49ers Throwback says, fans still can't smell the coffee to wake up Moody. Nope. TB, what's the... Oh, man. Okay, so Kyle Shanahan speaking with the media right now. 49ers Throwback, shout out to you for putting the update here in the comments. Oh, come on. Don't do us like that. Don't do us like that. He was kidding. You know what, though, TB? It was believable because this team's injury luck is out of this world. For the audio listeners, he made a joke saying that Jacob Cowan could miss more time, or a lot of time. We don't know that. I do have a couple of updates, though, from Kyle Shanahan speaking with the media. Let's see what he's had to say. I think he was asked about Jawan Jennings. He was asked about Jawan Jennings' week 1 availability. He said, quote, I expect him to be back. He should be back from it, but you never know with the calf. Calf is like the new word for contract dispute, I guess. Oh, okay. TB, why'd you say you were lying then? Okay. Why'd you say you were kidding? Okay, so apparently this is real, and I'm reading it on my timeline now too. Jacob Cowan could miss 6 weeks with the hamstring injury. He did it say it? He tore his. Where did I just read that? Tore his hamstring, out at least 6 weeks. Yeah, so he's gonna be on IR. Don't be surprised if the 49ers make another move at wide receiver, by the way. I think they're going to also be scouring who gets cut on Tuesday. And hopefully someone good, because 49ers need them. All right, so a couple of other updates I'm reading here. Kyle Shanahan on Brian Robinson said, brought him here to be our 2-back. Always been a big fan of Brian. That's huge. I mean, that's huge. That tells you right there, Isaac Rendo, not feeling you as the RB2. And based on what we saw today, I agree. I agree. I always appreciated Garendo's home run ability. Like, he had that. But I've also seen that from Brian Robinson, too. He's not as fast, obviously, but if you... I've seen a lot of people say this about B-Rob. Is like, he will take what is blocked for him. The 49ers happen to be pretty good at run blocking. I don't know if they will be this year, but historically they have been, at least. So if you feel good about Brian Robinson, it's because he's kind of a one cut and go back. So he kind of has some home run ability as well if the blocking is there. And also in short yardage situations, he's going to be your guy too, I think. And this will maybe just help Christian McCaffrey stay healthy too. So Brian Robinson is your RB2. Kyle Shanahan is a big fan. So Kyle Shanahan was also asked about Jake Moody. He said, I thought he had one of the best games I've ever seen a guy have last week. That's crazy because he missed. He also went on to say, he missed an extra point tonight, and that doesn't make me happy. He's had real good offseason and preseason. I don't know what to make of this. Like, this is very, very Kyle Shanahan, just trying to keep it all politically correct, I guess. But again, like I said, that's kind of what I expected from Kyle for now. Like, he's not going to completely tear him down. Oh, man, I just saw this too. So, rookie corner Jacob Robinson broke his forearm today. Look, he was going to make the 53, but I really liked what I had seen from him so far, and I was really rooting for him to make the practice squad. Sounds like IR for Jacob Robinson, unfortunately. Man, that sucks. And that happened toward the end of the game. Kyle Shanahan also said he thinks defensive end Michael Williams and cornerback Upton Stout will return to practice this week, but will depend on how they come in on Monday. All right. It's good that those guys are getting close to returning, though, because those are expected week 1 starters right there. So, man, yeah. This is my dad speaking words of wisdom. At this point, Niners just need healthy guys. Amen. They really do. Sigh. I tweeted this earlier. I said injuries are on a generational run with this 49ers team right now. Just think Game 6, Klay Thompson. Game 6, Michael Jordan. Injuries. That's how they're playing right now. Injuries. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate all of you that tuned in. As always, going to be back on Monday with the Player of the Week episode. We're going to break this down, this game down a little bit more, in a fun way. I know talking about preseason isn't super fun, but we'll make it fun, and we'll talk about the roster, who we think is going to end up making it. Tuesday, of course, going to be the cut down to 53. So make sure you keep that notification bell on so you know when I go live next. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. But for now, folks, have a good rest of your Saturday night. Peace. Go Niners.